Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, where we have a gem of a guest today. She's absolutely smashing it on TikTok, smashing it on YouTube, and a dedicated individual when it comes to Manchester United. It's the wonderful Alice Abrahams, aka Alice Talks Footy. How are you doing? And talk to me. We're going to kick it off with the Liverpool game. We were just discussing it off camera there. How are you feeling? Still got that kind of, I won't call it a hangover because we're not feeling bad, we're feeling happy. But yeah, you're still feeling that kind of joy from that game?
Honestly, I'm so buzzing. I feel like when you go into the international break, that's 2 weeks without football. So you need that little boost because when you go in after a loss, that's 2 weeks of that's our last game. It almost makes the loss longer and dragged out. And I think because it's Liverpool, it's going to feel amazing because it was a good game. You know, sometimes we've won games where we've played awful football and we've scraped it over the line 1-0. But this was like, actually, you know what? I felt we deserved it. Good first half, good in extra time. Second half, yeah, Liverpool could have maybe made it 3-1, but they didn't. And I thought, you know what? I've criticised these players a lot this season, but to see that those players gave 100%, to see that Ten Hag, you know, just threw everything at it and played attacking football, to see that everything that we wanted to see we got in that game from United, and now we've got bragging rights for 2 weeks, knocking Liverpool out the cup. Coventry in the next round feels like a ticket to the final, but we can't underestimate them. It feels absolutely brilliant, I can't lie.
Yeah, probably the most iconic moment this season, I will probably suggest. Sam, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because obviously you have that phase where we get to sit on it now.
Yeah.
For the rest of the, like 2 weeks or whatever. But also at the same time, it's kind of a momentum killer because you would want a game straight after that, and especially someone like Amad Diallo.
Yeah, like obviously it sucks for Ahmad because he's finally got his moment. He's took it, scored the winning goal, and you think, oh yeah, kick on from here. But he's not going to get to do that for a couple of weeks. But it's also good because we've got a bunch of players who are either just coming back from fitness, like you saw Wan-Bissaka, who basically hadn't trained and then got called up because Johnny Evans was not fit. Mason Mount come on towards the end. Harry Maguire had 2 training sessions, so he wasn't like really fit. So Højlund just came back, so I think that'll be good. Hopefully none of those players play any minutes for their countries.
You know one of them's going to get injured on the national break. That's the rule with United, isn't it? We all know that.
Yeah. I can't be asked. Like, why has Leach been allowed to go to Argentina? I do not know, but that's a discussion for another show. So yeah, hopefully it means they can rest up, come back, and then by the time we get Brentford, when we come back, we've got lots of players fit, fresh, fit, ready, raring to go, and we can just knock out the rest of these 10 games and try and get top 5, top 4, whatever it is going to be. That would be ideal. But yeah, let's see what happens, man.
In regards to today, there was a couple of things we want to discuss. Now, obviously, for anyone who hasn't seen it, there has been a massive kind of, I want to say interview podcast, whatever you want to call it, a bit random on like a cycling podcast. Yeah. Sir Jim Ratcliffe talking about a lot of things, and that's what we're going to kick it off with. I know, Sam, you wanted to start on this one.
Yeah, it's like, I just wanted to say, like, Sir Jim's probably spoken out more than the Glazers has in the last couple of months than they have in, 15 years to the fans and the public, which for me is personally a good sign. I just wanted to ask you, do you think that's a really sort of positive sign of things to come? Like, obviously you as a fan, us as fans, we prefer an owner who speaks, details plans and communicates to us. Like, for you, does that feel more positive? Does that get you more sort of optimistic about what their INEOS and Sir Jim are going to bring? The fact that they are talking to the fans and they are putting stuff out there about what they want to do?
Are you talking to me or
yes.
Nick?
Yeah.
You know what? I was quite skeptical about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I can't lie. At first, I just wanted a full sale. I was so much like, I want the full sale. I want these Glazers out, that I was a little bit, like maybe a bit more disrespectful than I should have been towards Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because even though it wasn't about Qatar, it was about the full sale, and I was kind of like, oh, he's going to keep the Glazers here. I don't know, but I have to say, like, I've been really impressed with everything that Ratcliffe's done. I don't think he's put a foot wrong. Everything I've wanted to see happen, other than the Glazers leaving, has happened. He's taken control of the Glazers. He's looking to bring the right people in, but it's like the comments he makes of the environment of the club needs to change. That's the problem. We're not going to sign Bellingham and Mbappe. We want to sign the next Bellingham and Mbappe, because I know the big problem with us is we sign the big name players, they flop. We need to do what Liverpool did at the start of their rebuild and sign players and develop them into good players, not spending 100 million because we've got 6-7 positions to address, 30, 40, 50 million signings, change the environment, change the structure, change the board. And as you said, I think what's impressed me most about Ratcliffe is that you can tell, like, it's not just like Omar Barada and getting deals done and bring people in. I think Dan Ashworth will be done as well. But like, you can tell he actually cares. Like, the Glazers have done nothing in 17 years. They've visited Old Trafford maybe twice, spoke out maybe twice. And when they speak out, they say like they don't know the offside rule, like just no interest, nothing there. But I like that you can see that Jim Ratcliffe Brailsford, Blanc are clearly communicating with Murta and co. I don't think Murta and Arnold Murta and Arnold I don't think are good enough, but I will give them a little bit of leniency in the sense of I don't think they were ever communicated to by the Glazers about what the vision was of the club, what the goal was of the club, and I think Ratcliffe and Brailsford are putting that much needed structure in place.
Yeah, absolutely. They also mentioned on the podcast as well about I don't know if you saw the Paul Scholes comment about the midfield, saying if you could bring any player back in, who would you put in there? And I thought it was interesting because obviously there's a lot of names floating about, but for you in particular, is there a certain player that stands out for that midfield role? Because it's going to be a massive signing in it in terms of what caliber, what kind of player they bring in. Will they go for a more younger profile? Will they go for an experienced one? Like, who is your preference in that midfield role?
Ooh. It's difficult because I almost feel like we need two midfielders, because the way I see it is McTominay could get a bit of money for, Amrabat will be moved out, Ericsson will be gone, Casemiro could go. That could be 4 exits. So I almost feel like we need 2. And I think I'm glad that he brought up Paul Scholes, because I think midfield is a bigger priority than maybe it seems in the media. We always hear about striker, centre back, but I think we've got Maynard, we've got Bruno, but we need that third midfielder, and we'll probably need a fourth as a bit of coverage with injury issues. I think we need someone a bit more physical. I think someone that has the ability to play as a 6, so then Maino can push forward, but could play with Maino in a pivot. I think we need someone like Chouameni would be the dream, but that's never going to happen. I do like the look of Mats Wiefer. I've not seen loads of him, but he's very similar to Amadou Onana, but I think he'll be half the price. He looks quite good on the ball, which is something that I think we lack, but he's got those legs, he's tall, he's physical. I think we'll need someone that's bigger in a bit more physicality. So I'd say Mats Wiefer, but then if I picked him, I'd pick Mats Wiefer and João Neves, but I think João Neves would probably be a bit out of budget.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk around João Neves, wasn't there, recently, with Bruno discussing him. And then Amadou Onana was the exact name I was going to mention, that kind of athletic, combative midfielder alongside Main, who I think would complement him perfectly. But we don't live in a perfect world, so it is definitely interesting to see who would go for, Sam.
I'm surprised you didn't drop your favourite name in there, Nick. I thought you were going to... That was your opportunity. You're done with it now.
I'm past the young, yeah.
You're past the young.
It's never going to happen. So I'm.
They keep teasing it. They keep teasing it, though, don't they? They keep bringing you back in, just like, come on.
Yeah, they're always going to do it, and they'll do it again. They'll do it again in the summer. Yeah. They'll be mentioned, and I'll get my hopes up, and yeah, it's like an ex-girlfriend in that kind of sense, in it.
But yeah, let's move. Should we talk about manager speculation? Because obviously the last couple of weeks before the Liverpool win, actually, there's a lot of talk. De Zerbi coming in. Obviously, there's the Southgate chat recently, which is making me dread and making me fear for the club, but it is what it is. I personally want Ten Hag to be given a chance under this new regime, this new structure. Obviously, his role's going to have to change because last summer he had a lot of remit. He was purchasing players, being asked which players he wanted, pushing to spend 85 million on Ante, all that sort of stuff. Do you think his power is going to be reduced under INEOS and have a similar setup to how he had at Ajax, where they had like Edwin van der Sar and Overmars? They were sort of basically running the club and he could focus on purely coaching the club. Do you think that's going to be the case after this summer?
I think so. I think INEOS will give Ten Hag some level of say, but I think it's been widely reported they're going to strip down on the power he has. That's why Dan Ashworth and Mabrada, someone for recruitment in as well. I think Jim Ratcliffe wants to get recruitment specialists in. Obviously there'll be consults with Ten Hag if he's here next season, but I think he will be stripped of power. The question is, how happy is Ten Hag with that? Because I think he'll want elements of power, but he was definitely given too much power. Like, any proper sporting director would have said, look, Anthony, 85 million, come on, like, let's look at someone else.
You're off your fucking head, Eric, that's why I always say.
Especially when your scouts the year before, the Ollie valued him at 25 million and went, nah, don't fancy it. And then you paid 85 million, it's just insane.
I know, it's ridiculous. But I think people will come in, obviously, and I think that will be good and exactly what we need.
On the podcast, I keep referencing this, but there was so much kind of detail in there. I thought it was interesting. You got asked about Arteta, and he was saying, it'd be good for Arteta. He's done really well there. Arsenal have been patient with him, which is nice as well. Which I don't know if that's kind of an inkling to how his, kind of brain is thinking going into this Ten Hag situation. Do you think that's maybe a hint, or is that getting ahead of ourselves?
No, I think you're onto something, because when he was asked about Ten Hag, he didn't want to give much away, but he said, look, we've had multiple managers at United that we know are good managers, but none of which have been successful. So maybe you have to look at the environment. And from someone I spoke to, they gave the suggestion that INEOS's focus right now is on changing the environment. They know there's a lot of players that need to go. They know there's a lot of changes that need to happen. And changing Ten Hag in this summer might be seen as one too many changes, and they said, well, there's no decision that has been made. There's no guarantee that Ten Hag will stay because they obviously want to see a bit of a process under Ten Hag, which has been a little bit difficult this season because of injuries. I was sort of told that there's a lot to change, that might buy Ten Hag another season because they view other things as a priority. That's what I sort of heard.
I know you're going to get onto the summer, Sam. I just wanted to say that kind of begs the question, doesn't it? Because surely everything's going on now at the moment behind the scenes, the targeting players, speaking to agents, sorting all the structure out. So I don't get where, like you said, Alice, and rightfully so, where that wiggle room kind of comes in to say, like, all right, let's recruit a new manager, let's get rid of him, let's do this. Like, it just feels like a stockpile almost. It's just, you can't do it. There's way too many things. And that's why I think the summer's fascinating, Sam.
Yeah, summer's going to be interesting because I think this is the first summer we've gone into where we've gone, okay, they've got an idea, they've got a structure, what they want to do, how they want to approach it. Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth is probably going to happen, if not in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, before the summer. You've got Jean-Claude Blanc there, like Alice mentioned. Just to sort of pivot a little bit and let's talk about the exciting stuff because everybody loves transfers. What 3 positions do you think we need to come in the summer? Like, I've got an idea in my head of like what I want and I think should come in, but I'd love to hear like another person's opinion just to see how everybody's thinking going into the summer.
3 positions. I feel like we need about 5 or 6.
Well, yeah, that's why I limited it down to 3 because otherwise we might be here for days.
At the same time, 5 or 6, is it realistic? I don't. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how FFP is going to work. We don't know if we're going to have Champions League either, so we don't really know what we're kind of playing with here, do we?
Yeah, I'd say number 1 for me would be a DM, someone to partner Kobbie and Bruno in midfield. That's for me number 1. I think number 2 would be a centre back. I feel like Leach is going to stay fit next season because they were contact injuries.
Fucking hope so.
So I'm hoping he stays fit next season. I'm going to say a right-sided centre back, a DM, and then I'm probably going to go with right winger. But then part of me wants to say striker because we've got one actually. I think Rashford will be good next season. Ahmad potentially can play right wing, so maybe I'm going to go striker, DM, centre back. But then I think Højlund is so good. It's just that we need someone if Højlund's not around. I'm going to go right wing. I'm going to go right wing because I like Højlund a lot, and hopefully that right winger could play centrally.
Nick, sorry, Nick, I was going to follow up. Do you differ with that? Do you think different positions or?
It's interesting. Wingers. I love Ahmad. I've said this on the channel fucking multiple times. I'm a massive, massive fan of him. I've watched him since his early days at Atlanta, massive fan of him. So I wouldn't necessarily go and buy a creative winger. I trust in him and I trust in his potential. So I would trust him out there. A striker I think we definitely need, but then it's the profile, innit? What profile of striker do you bring in? Do you bring an experienced one who's just going to play the odd game in Europe or whatever it is? Olivier Giroud, but like years ago? Or are you going to bring in a young striker like a Sesko to compete with Højlund and have them kind of pushing each other? That's the dynamic more that I'm interested in rather than the actual specific individual who they're going to go after. So striker, we definitely need depth there because Martial is about reliable as, just unreliable as fuck. Right back situation I'm okay with at the moment because I think Dallow's come on leaps and bounds. He's been, especially the past 2-3 months has been top level. So the right back situation I'm okay with. Centre back we definitely need one there, but again I don't know who you go with because you have the right sided. I think Branthwaite tends to play on the left, but I really like Branthwaite. So yeah, I don't want to get into it too much because I'll be here for about 20 minutes. But
left back because Malacia's, I don't know what is wrong with him. I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know if he needs help, but. And then Shaw's obviously not been reliable for the last however many. He had 1 full season last season, but since the leg break, he's had, 20 games a season?
Yeah. Let me deflect that question onto Alice. Left back, Alice. Talk to me about that, because like Sam rightfully just said, Malacia is nowhere to be fucking seen at the moment. Luke Shaw is fantastic when he's at his best, but he's just not been available at all. So is that another position you throw in there?
Yeah, I think so. Again, it wouldn't be my top 3. I think it is midfield, centre back, right wing strikers, the first 4 we've got to look at. But I think fullback's definitely something we've got to look at if the funds are there, because I love Luke Shaw. I think he is unbelievable when fit. I think he's underrated by some fans. I think he's brilliant, but he's getting on a bit. I think one of the reasons he's been less reliable this season is because every time he's come back, he's been rushed in because there's no Malacia. Yeah. And I think if that wasn't the case, I think he would have been around more. But if Malacia has just disappeared and not played in a year, and I did like Malacia, he was really good for us in some big games last season, Barcelona, Liverpool. I do think you've got to look at left back, particularly with Shaw just ageing a little bit as well. And I do like think maybe an Anthony Robinson of Fulham could
I
be
like
under
him.
3 million. I think
Yeah.
he looked good, and did a video like 2 months ago about Liverpool, and I said like who on my second channel, and I said that they should look at him for their left back because Robertson had some problems, and I think, well, you know what, I'd rather him at United because with the issues we've had this season, I think he's probably Prem proven, probably isn't too expensive. You know, people say Alphonso Davies, Teo Hernandez, but realistically, I think Robinson's got a bit about him.
If only we had a young left back who is exciting and good, and we didn't let him go on loan to Benfica with a stupid buyout clause. But
if only. Hopefully, no more moves like that. So yeah, it is fascinating. If anyone has any questions for Alice or any questions on a summer window or anything at all, just bang it in the comments and we'll try to get into them towards the end. Just wanted to do a bit of fun. Is my mic gone off?
No, you're good.
I was going to say, just wanted to do something a little bit of fun to take it away from the news and all that kind of stuff. Give me your predictions for the end of the season. So Premier League winner, FA Cup, Champions League, and Player of the Season. What are you thinking?
Ooh. I have a feeling Liverpool's going to win the league. Klopp last season.
God.
Do you know what I mean? Klopp's last season, all of that. They did dominate Man City, to be fair. They were the better team.
Yeah.
Depends on injuries, I guess, for them. I feel Arsenal still got to play City. I think Liverpool can win the league. I think the Champions League's hard because Arsenal weren't that convincing against Porto, but I think Arsenal have looked a lot better in the big games this season versus City versus Liverpool because they're quite good when teams attack them and leave them spacing behind. So part of me feels like Arsenal could win the Champions League, which is
big
just
shout.
Bayern are dodgy though. Bayern do not look good at the minute at all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think Barcelona are convincing. I don't think Bayern are convincing. I don't think Real Madrid are at their best. And PSG, I generally think Atletico would cause Arsenal the biggest problems out of all the teams in there, just the way Simone plays. So I think Arsenal, FA Cup. I mean, you would probably put your money on City, but I'm going to back United. Which might, because I think, you know what, this is all we've got to play for realistically, and I feel like for me it would be massive to get sort of revenge for last season, and I think what we saw in Liverpool in extra time was them going for it, and maybe they could bring that into the City game. And then, what was the other one, Player of the Season?
Yeah, Player of the Season. Either so far that you think, or predictions for
United or Premier League?
Premier League.
Premier League. It's difficult because there's some players have been good, then injured. Other players have been good here and there. I think Declan Rice will be in it. I think he's been brilliant. I think McAllister's been pretty good as well.
Underrated, McAllister, in my opinion. Super underrated.
Value for money, probably better than Rice, but I think Rice's impact. If Arsenal win the league, it's going to Declan Rice without a doubt. If Liverpool win the league, maybe it goes to Van Dijk. And if City, I don't know. Obviously, Haaland's been decent, but I think it'll be between Van Dijk and of course Declan Rice, to be honest.
Yeah, let me throw the same to you, Sam. Let's get your predictions on this one. So, Premier League winner, FA Cup, Champions League, and Player of the Season, in your humble opinion.
I can't pick Liverpool because my conscience won't let me do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know my rules with fantasy football, Nick, and I've screwed myself out of a fantasy football win because of it. So there you go. Yeah, Premier League, you can't look past City, which is sad because it's going to be 4 in a row, which sucks, but they've cheated to get there, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Nobody cares. FA Cup, I'll back United. This is all, like Alex said, it's all I've got left.
It'd be devastating, wouldn't it, Sam, if we lost again to City in the final for the fucking second time?
I can't deal with it. So I have to hold on to hope that we can win a trophy this season. Champions League, you can never look past Madrid. Like Alex said, like they don't look great, but they never look great. Every Champions League they look like shit, and they somehow make it to a final, and they somehow manage to pull something out. I don't know how, but they just do it every single time.
Heritage,
so.
That's why. Heritage, mate.
So I could easily see them getting there and winning that. And then Player of the Season, Declan Rice is a shout. Do you know what? That Liverpool keeper who's come in, Kelleher, he's been fantastic, hasn't he?
He's been unreal. I don't know about Player of the Season, but he's been fucking insane.
He's a shout. Declan Rice is definitely a shout. I think he's been phenomenally good. I don't know many players I could look past. I think you can chuck Garnacho in there, Kobe Mainoo in there if you want a United one. But yeah, Declan Rice has been excellent this season. I just wish we would have bought him because he would have been exactly what we needed. But
yeah, I'd go Foden, Player of the Season. I think Foden's been insane for Man City. So yeah, that'd be my personal one. Do you have any comments, Sam? Any questions? Anything we can get into?
There's a lot of Southgate out comments, which I'm all about. I'm here for it. Dan Raj, Ratcliffe shown good intentions so far, so good. Charlie Mammon, Klotz throwing hissy fits, having issues with the questions from the press. He's taking this loss really well, absolutely. Not getting right is what did Ollie in. There's more Southgate stuff, so I'll skip past that one. Eric Ten Hag in for sure. Centre back, left back, centre midfield in the summer. Striker, centre back, left back. If it's just 3, Anthony could be our left back. He did do it against Liverpool. To be fair,
they weren't happy about it though. Did you see the clip of him? He was telling him.
Furious,
he was like,
yeah.
"Come on, man, what do you mean left back?" And he's like, "Fucking just fucking go do it, mate. Go do it." And he's like, "Oh, fuck's sake."
Danish Iqbal, I wish we would have signed Cole Palmer. Oof, there's a shout for player of the year.
Yeah,
Cole Palmer.
Mancunian as well, innit? Like,
fucking top player.
Very
United will end up 5th or 6th. Liverpool to win the league. Arsenal to play PSG in the Champions League final. United to go trophyless. Fucking hell, Anthony, man, what are you talking about? Man City will pick the FA Cup out, and then United can win the FA Cup should Chelsea somehow beat City. There's your comments.
But they've been a bogey team for him, haven't they? Chelsea, so you can kind of wish on a star with that one. You like to think we get past Coventry, so I think it's exciting. End towards the season when it almost felt like, Alice, there was no fucking hope with United at all, especially like during the November, December period. Are you feeling positive now towards the end? Do you think we can maybe nick top 5, top 4, whatever it's going to be, and the FA Cup?
It's going to be hard, and I think there's been a lot of problems this season that I don't think the way we've played is the most sustainable. And I think we've almost got through periods through individual brilliance of having the quality in the squad that conceding second most shots. I'm not convinced when I watch us play, and a lot of our wins I've not been convinced by. But I think,
sorry to interrupt you, is that down to individuals or is that down to like the way we're setting up? Or do you think if we had the right profiles, if you could go sign whoever, do you think you could see the tactical setup working? If that makes sense, I don't know.
I do fully believe in Ten Hag. I think he's been getting a few things wrong this season, and I think there's room for improvement tactically, but I think most of it is to do with personnel, players, and of course injuries. We are bad in build-up, and that is because there's no Mane, there's no Shaw, and we lack technical players. That is not Ten Hag's fault. I think the fact that people can run through our midfield and we concede so many shots, maybe Ten Hag could maybe adapt. I know he wants to play a certain way.